It's time for bookkeeping, beer, and BS. Let's start with like where TRT was, and you're kind of fighting depression. What was like the first thing? I feel like it's hard to get into new businesses when you're fighting that shit. Like, how did you have the mental
you know what?
wherewithal to,
Here's
like,
something
start
that you
trying
probably
some
haven't. I'm sorry. It ain't my show. On my show, I can talk over whoever I want. Sorry about that.
Yeah, but like you always are gonna do that anyway. So just do what you do, man.
You know what? Not always. Here's the thing.
No, not
I'm
always
working
to
on it.
everybody, but to me, always.
Fair.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the crazy thing, Dan. I would say, first off, you're right. Like when you're dealing with depression, it's a terrible time to be like doing new stuff. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't. Like you could be dealing with depression and you could have your back against the wall financially, and maybe you just got to do it, right? But I know for me, I didn't recognize it in the moment, but like I can, in hindsight, I was just drowning, right? I was, depression will kill your motivation, and it also can kill your ability for what's the word I'm looking for? Executive functions. And then another thing that I've learned is I have what they call moderate to extreme ADHD, which I was always taught that's just a bunch of BS, and you just smack the kid on the back of the head and you tell him to get to work. But it turns out that Jahira, oh my gosh, she's watching. Jay, don't leave because I'm about to start talking about you. So Jahira is my general manager, and she's a part of this story that's coming up. Jay, I freaking love you. So for me, Dan, like the ADHD thing, and then you add the depression, your lack of drive and motive. So I'm not working in my business, right? And Jahira, Jay, be nice, but she can attest to it. I was just kind of like the shell of a human. And I was kind of just throwing spaghetti at the wall when it comes to like trying new things, because I was just like, oh, well, if I do this, maybe that'll get me back in the game. Oh, if I do that, maybe that'll get me back in the game. Oh,
like
if I
almost
do that,
trying to like kickstart some excitement.
mm-hmm. That's
like a midlife
literally
crisis. I'm going to buy a motorcycle.
Essentially. Yeah, pretty much. And so anyway, not going too deep into that. I had some ideas, like I even had this thing with like Clay Davis, which, really well up in your neck of the woods. And he's just one of my closest friends. And
Clay's the shit. Clay and Derek are like,
they're really impressive guys. But like I had this little project that I was like, even had an idea, hey, we'll do this. And this was all right before my implosion that I was talking about. And that was just another thing where I was just like, I was just trying to get some sort of freaking momentum or traction in my life. Right. Mm-hmm. And then we had already had this idea on this other business and it was originally going to be floor coatings, and then it turned into the landscape lighting. And it's, at the end of the day, Dan, it's not a good idea, to be doing these new things when you're depressed.
Is it like buying a dog or having a kid to save a relationship?
Actually, you know what? I never thought of it that way, but it's honestly, it's exactly like that. Because it's exactly like that, because it's a terrible idea and it has long-term consequences. It's exactly like that. Yeah. But your motive is the same too. It's just like, this is what I want to be, and I can't figure out how to get that. And there I'm there. So anyway, we're kind of doing this stuff, we're adding these things and we're doing these things and blah, 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 blah. And, nothing's working. All right. Let's just say that, we'll skip towards the end here, nothing's working. And then, once I came out, so I come out of my depression, so I'm no longer depressed, but now I'm like rebuilding myself. I'm working on my confidence, and my self-worth and, all those kinds of things, my emotional control, all that shit. And that was kind of it was like an exponential like growth there. Right. And Jahira, if she's still on here, she'll be able to tell you that, but it was like, because she's my GM, she saw me as I started getting back in the game. So it's like, I started making some small improvements, and then you start getting some, and then it's like all of a sudden you're almost just skyrocketing, right?
And then she's like, Bobby, like, would you get out of here? I've been keeping this fort down for a while, and now you're driving me crazy.
Exactly. So at that point, so laying that table, right? What the hell I'm trying to say? So now here I am. At this point, I had fired myself as the general manager in my company. And I'd put Jahira Graciani, who's in the chat, and I just want to tell y'all, if anyone like DMs her and like tries to hire her, like I'll break some fucking legs, man. It ain't gonna happen. Okay, she's mine. She's staying. She ain't going anywhere. Okay, but
calling dibs.
Yeah, but yeah, that's her saying that right there. Yeah, and boom, guess who's back, baby. So I fired myself as general manager, put her in that role, because at this point it's like I knew I could do it. You know, like I knew I could do it, but I'm rebuilding myself. I have this new love for myself and this confidence and everything. And I was like, I don't want to do it. My goal is not to run service businesses. My goal is to like create stuff. My goal is to, make it. And I want to see it do its thing. So I put her in as GM, and I was still running, doing sales. So I made myself a sales manager, and then, and
I think you just signed a long-term contract. It is a 10-year contract you just signed up.
Exactly, right. but I was running sales, but with doing that, I was building my team up, and I was helping Jay, in her new role, and I wasn't doing a lot of sales. I was actually just doing a lot of some planning and getting us on on traction, like literally the book traction, and the EOS system and all that stuff. And then it just kind of dawned on me. I was like, I'm doing the things I need to do. Like I'm leading my team, I'm casting the vision, like the traction thing, and getting us there. I can sell, but I don't want to do that either. I've got other things I want to do. And I had the right people, and I had them in the right seats. And so I showed up one day to our leadership meeting on a Tuesday, and I essentially quit. I kind of showed up and Jay could probably testify, but I kind of threw a grenade in the room and just left. And said, figure it out,